I just wanted to read off an Instagram post that you made, and it was, I just thought it was powerful. And so if you don't mind, I'm just going to read it. And I think it was kind of in response to what happened with George Floyd, and then, your thoughts on policing. And it goes like this. You said, quote, "I stayed up all night racking my brain about how to prevent this tragedy from ever happening again. We have to change the culture of the law enforcement community, one that believes in service, sacrifice, and humility. You have to suffer. The only place that you can create this culture is through training." And I'm paraphrasing a bit, but I'll keep going. "I would quote the statistics about how undertrained they are, but it's different from state to state, and every state is horrifically undertrained. At every step of the way to the badge and the right to keep wearing one, you have to sweat, you have to bleed, you have to fail, you have to work, you have to make sacrifices. It's a forging fire. I know countless police officers that are amazing and do the right thing. Truthfully, I don't know any of these quote unquote bad apples. The men and women that train with me and my family members that have sworn to protect and serve are some of the most selfless humans I've ever met. But the police are not the only ones to blame in all of this. I see looters running into Foot Lockers, rioters destroying city blocks and burning them to the ground. I also see anarchists using this opportunity to wreak havoc. We need to be reasonable. We need to be honest, straightforward, and matter of fact. Is someone being a criminal, they have to be treated like a criminal. If someone's trying to peacefully protest, they need to be protected and allowed their right to do so. Nobody gets a pass because their emotions are high. I will stand with all real peaceful Black Lives Matter protesters, but every single criminal needs to be brought to justice. I stand with the thin blue line, these are hashtags, but you need training. You need to pick the right people. You need to keep them trained. You have to keep them humble, and that badge never gives you an authority to ever step on someone's freedom or their neck. I believe in freedom. I believe in every amendment of the Constitution and stand by them equally. It's one of those documents that you don't just get to pick and choose from. I also believe that it belongs to everyone equally." What's it like when I read that back to you?
I still stand by every word, and it's weird. I've never heard it out loud, right? You hear it, you write it in your head, and then you put it on Instagram, and then you watch the cesspool, the petri dish of all these negative bacterias that fester and rot in comment section, and like sometimes it hurts, but at least they're talking. Sometimes it hurts because like, oh no, that's like, you mistook what I meant there. Oftentimes the things that I said, I always have the best intention. And when you're taking single sentences and taking them out of context and removing the intent of what I'm trying to say, you're like you could take a single sentence of that and be like, oh, Tim is only for the police, or like Tim is fully for protesters and Black Lives Matter. Like, actually, both of those are true. Like, if you just put them together and you read the whole entire thing, like if you put a Venn diagram and you started making circles of like, I support the police, and I also think that there should be radical changes against racism in this country, and what happened to George Floyd is horrific and should never happen again. And you'll actually find that there's this huge overlap from those three bubbles. And right in the middle, and I think like 90% of people are there. But then like the fringe groups in all three of those respective bubbles are sitting there yelling at each other. And the group in the middle is being like, wait a second, I agree with all of you guys, like I'm for you protesting. Like that is part of being American. Like I'm absolutely for people standing up and protecting the weak. And that's what law enforcement is about. So I'm for you guys. I'm like, what happened to George Floyd? That's horrible. Like, regardless if he was a criminal and he had done horrific things, like what happened to him as an individual, we should never let happen to anyone ever again. So like, wait a second, do I just agree with everybody? All right, cool. That's the beginning. So then how do we come together and find solutions? Well, you'll never do it if you're sitting there yelling at each other from your opposite bubble. Like, you got to come to the middle. You got to come to the not fear-based emotion and start being a human and rational and loving one another.
And social media is like the most unnuanced way of getting your opinion out there. I'm sure you've thought, maybe I just shouldn't put this out there because it's going to create all that cesspool, but what makes you do it?
Belief and hope. I know hope is a bad plan. It doesn't work. Like I could have been driving into Afghanistan and been like, all right, I'm going to hope for the best here. That's not a good plan. But I really believe in the people of this country and the world that they will do the right thing. The process to get there might be painful and arduous, but like if you look through the entire duration of recorded histories from, World War I to, World War II and to us stopping the emancipation, ending of slavery. And like, we're on a trajectory that is always getting better. Like, but it is like this. But if you step back, you see this common thread of us taking care of each other. We're like, no, you don't get to like wipe a group of people off the planet. As a matter of fact, all of us are going to come together to fight you on that. No, you can't ever have another human as a slave. Like, we're all going to agree with that. No, you shouldn't like hurt young kids or buy them and sell them. Like, we're all kind of come together on that. Well, there were periods of time where those ideas were perfectly acceptable. But over time, we have had this trajectory of always getting better. The process sometimes is a murderous, violent path. But ultimately that path is always improving. And that's my faith, and that's my hope, and that's my belief, is that we as a species will be like, all right, we got this. We'll just make it a little bit better.